Hello everyone and welcome to Game 1 in a series between Lucifer versus Colorful, an Undead versus Night Elf matchup taking place here on Secret Valley. Gonna go ahead and turn on my speaker so I can hear something as well. As we see on the bottom left hand side, we have Lucifer spawning as the blue Undead. Meanwhile, on the top right, we have Colorful spawning as the teal Night Elf. Night Elf versus Undead in this human versus Undead matchup, as I've already stated. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we're going to be, what's going to unfold in this particular matchup. Now, Night Elf versus Undead is not a matchup I get to cast all that often, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to see this particular game. We are looking at an Ancient of War creep over here on the top right hand side. Meanwhile, we see a little bit of a delayed Death Knight, and we may be looking at an Unholy Aura ghoul opening, or just your straight up standard Death Knight with Death Coil. It looks like it will be Unholy Aura and the Death Knight now making his way quickly across the map with that bonus Unholy Aura speed. Meanwhile, on the top right here, it is going to be a Warden instead of a Demon Hunter, interestingly enough. And the Warden is going to be able to finish off this creep camp pretty easily, but it may get very, very close. The Death Knight is hoping to be able to get in that last shot on that Null Assassin, but even if the Null Assassin does, what is going to happen here? Even if the Death Knight does get there, he's not going to be able to land a Death Coil at all, which is going to be a bit of a problem. Wisp comes in, gets a quick detonation, and now the Warden can get in some very easy damage onto some of these units. Archer now running back around as well, but a Death Knight by himself will not be able to take down this solo Archer, as the Archer does have the comfort of nearby Moon Wells. Now, interestingly enough, we see a rather wide open base coming in from Colorful, and I'm not quite sure what to expect from that. If the Death Knight tries to rush in with a lot of ghouls, he has many paths to get in. I am expecting an Ancient of Wonders and maybe the Ancient of War to eventually move back over there, but it is still relatively low on hit points, and it is still trying to train archers, so it's not going to be able to get there in quite a bit of time. Now, coming back down around, we can see a graveyard is coming into play, and there isn't that many ghouls, so it is not going to be the ghoul-heavy harassment that I was originally expecting. What does that mean? It ends up meaning that the Death Knight and the Skeletal Minions are here just trying to buy time for tech. Even if the Death Knight doesn't get any experience, he should be fine as long as he's able to get those Crypt Fiends out into play and also get that Lich. Once the Lich is also out on the field, then he can now start to make a bit of a play here. As you see, all of the ghouls return their lumber and now look like they are ready to do a bit of creeping. Meanwhile, Warden is making rounds over here, and we may see perhaps a Shadow Strike. No Shadow Strike, just getting some easy damage onto a ghoul or two. And with Blink, the Warden knows that she really can never overcommit to a fight. Now, the Warden is making sure that the Death Knight doesn't get long distance experience, as the Death Knight now making its way down over here. A level 3, level 1 creep camp not being able to even initiate because of this constant harassment. And Lucifer is now getting a taste of his own medicine, as we see a Shadow Strike now onto a ghoul. Alright, that ghoul taking a fair bit of damage. Is it going to go down? Yes, it will. The Warden gets a little bit more experience there, as the archers are able to really pelt down these units. You can see that Null Brute is taking a fair bit of damage. What's going to be happening here? Are the archers going to get in some easy shots? Yes, there's the Shadow Strike. Tome of Agility not picked up. And I guess that one little bit of extra health, or one little bit of extra armor and damage, not worth it, as the Death Knight gets on the board with an Archer. Alright, let's take a look at this. It looks like that ghoul will end up getting taken down, unless he gets back on Blight. No, not enough, not in time, as the Tome of Agility is still standing there. But I do agree with that. The Archer is worth more than the Tome of Agility. But, oh, come on, please. Finally, Lucifer picks up the Tome. And if there is any close calls for that Death Knight, I'm automatically going to assume that that little bit of armor that the Death Knight got from that Tome of Agility and the loss of damage from the Warden was the reason why. Death Knight now making a run all the way back into the Night Elf base. We're taking a look at the Night Elf base now, taking the Tree of Eternity, going for dual Ancient of Lore, and there's the second Ancient of Lore with an Ancient of Wonders. Dryad should be coming in momentarily, followed by Bears, as Bears and Dryad are really a strong 1-2 combination for the Night Elf. Being able to handle the Destroyers and handle the Crypt Fiends are a big counter action to each other, and the only one who really comes out ahead is the one who micros better. Down here on the bottom left, Obsidian Statue coming into play, Lich about to pop on out. We are not going to have an Orb of Corruption available just quite yet here, as both sides still just doing a little bit of creeping and really not much more than that. Tome of Intelligence, I think, was picked up by the Warden. I'll have to take a look at that replay later, or this replay later, as we now see the Warden making her way back off to the north. Now, once this Warden gets to level 3, all bets are pretty much off, as the Warden will then be able to use level 2 Shadow Strike, and level 2 Shadow Strike is extremely effective. Oh, very nice trick that I'd never even thought of. You purposely pull away with the rest of the remaining archers, and then the poison damage does not get spread around nearly as much. That's something that does happen fairly often, where a poison unit will switch targets, but we did not see this here. Warden just now gets to level 3, and with that much Shadow Strike damage, these ghouls are going to have a very bad day, but it will free up supply for Lucifer to get more Obsidian Statues, maybe even Crypt Fiends, to handle the eventual Dryad production. Obsidian Statue doing a good job keeping all of these units up. Death Knight Lich now wandering around here, as we're going to see the Warden getting creepjacked here. This is going to be extremely bad. Orb of Corruption takes down an archer in pretty much 2 shots. Meanwhile, the Death Knight sitting at level 2 will only have a level 1 Death Coil, as the Warden now in a little bit of trouble. Ghouls gonna get sacrificed here, as the Lich ends up getting more damage in once more. That Shadow Strike really adding up, and who is coming out ahead? That's going to be very difficult to tell, as the Death Knight may be able to finish off the rest of this creep camp. No, Shadow Strike back onto a Ghoul. Ghoul gets a Death Coil to save his life. Meanwhile, the Warden is now backing off, and we're still looking at a lot of damage being dealt to a lot of units. The Ghoul down to 25 hit points. Is it going to be able to survive? Yes, with another Death Coil. The damage over time would have killed it, but it was still able to survive. Lich may decide to turn around here in just a moment, as the Dryad just does get out of position. Once more, the Warden is at minus 2 armor, essentially. Or, sorry, not minus 2 armor, just at, was it 2-5? Down to 2 armor there. Death Coil onto the archer to get the kill there, but it still does not give level 2 the Lich or level 3 to the Death Knight. All right, let's take a look at what's happening here. If the Death Knight gets the level 3, level 2 on the Lich, respectively, things are going to change. A new Obsidian Statue should be added momentarily. No, Abomination first, then an Obsidian Statue, to try and get some mana into these heroes. Potion of Greater Healing going to be picked up by the Lich in order to stay alive, even though the Death Knight does have Death Coil for the Lich. The Lich is generally a higher priority target, since he is a bit of a glass cannon. Now, if I had to give an advantage to any player, I would give it to the Undead right now. 36 over 50 compared to 44 over 50. Very apparent in the food supply, as we're looking at the Ogre Warriors and the Troll Trappers getting finished off here. Both sides taking the opportunity to really just fight each other and get very strong armies going. But who is going to come out ahead? You can see that the Dryads are relatively low on hit points, and we need to see some rejuvenation, or perhaps the use of Moonwells. Gauntlets of Ogre Strength +3 times 2, as we are still looking at a solo hero from the Night Elf army. Dark Ranger rounding out the trifecta of the Undead army here, as Silence could make a big difference. Death Knight now at level 3 coming in. Oh, there's a quick Abolish Magic, as the Dryad takes a lot of damage. 27% additional damage on top of the piercing of the Crypt Fiends. So much damage being dealt, but the Silence just a day late and $1 short from preventing the Druid of the Claw. Shadow Strike, down goes a Ghoul. Both sides still fighting here. Abomination up at that front line. The Crypt Fiends are now trying to make a little bit of a play back. Beautiful Fan of Knives there, as that Fan of Knives does just a roundabout damage to all these units. However, the Warden is now a little bit too far in over her head. Silence, unable to blink away. There's a second Fan of Knives, as a Scroll of Town portal used in order to get away. This is going to be a very, very close call. If the Undead loses it, it will be because he decided to fight in a Night Elf base with still some Moonwell juice. All right, Bear going to go ahead and fall right there. Warden now looking to try and perhaps deal a little bit more damage. There is another Fan of Knives. But still, the Undead army is constantly being healed by the Obsidian statue and being able to stay alive. Staff of Preservation saves the Bear, heading all the way back as the Death Knight now finally being forced to return back home. We're now 11 minutes, 20 seconds into this game. Still a significant advantage I would give to the Undead army at this point. 50 compared to 45 in terms of overall food supply. Death Knight now taking this opportunity, hoping that his opponent is not going to come down the map and chase him down as he's attempting a rather difficult creep camp. Ghoul quickly taken down there. Crypt Fiends now being added as well. Ogre Lord dealing a whole bunch of damage here as there goes an Ogre Magi. Ogre Lord could get taken out. Tome of Strength +2. A little bit more damage. The Ogre Lord should be making his way back. And it looks as though the Undead is going to be able to freely creep out this creep camp and get even stronger. Helm of Valor, Strength, and Agility. Very, very nice for the Death Knight. More hit points and a little bit more armor to round it out. Meanwhile, Solo Warden still only sitting at level 4, and that is a big problem. With the Warden only sitting at level 4, what we're actually going to see is that the Warden, a solo Warden needs to really be at level 5 or even level 6 to start paying off. The fact that you end up being behind the amount of item slots also hurts as well, as I believe there are still 2 Gauntlets of Ogre Strength +3 sitting at the 3 o'clock position. That is not going to be good at all, as those items, that +6 hit points could have translated to 150, or +6 strength translates to 150 hit points. And that 150 hit points, even on especially on a level 1 hero, really makes a big difference. Death Knight transfers the Boots of Speed to the Lich. Lich now being able to kite and chase units a little bit more easily, as we now see a Mantle of Intelligence. That Death Knight, pretty much level 4 with the stats of a level 5 or even level 6 Death Knight at this point. A Dark Ranger attempting to run all the way to the 12 o'clock position, making sure that nothing's going on here. A Warden quickly came in, got in a Shadow Strike on one Acolyte. Acolytes will need to be repaired. There is a second Shadow Strike, as the Acolyte is just going to end up ticking to death. And now we are going to see a teleport out by the Warden. Major fight ready to happen here as the Lich, the Death Knight, and the Dark Ranger ready to push forward. Dark Ranger gets up to, or Warden gets up to level 5 here. Level 3 Phantom Knives could actually be the death of this Undead army if he's not careful. However, the Moonwell is extremely low. Perhaps some mana should be gathered by those Druids of the Claw. But no, they are not really draining them at all. Druid of the Claw gets taken down there as we now have silence across the board. All right, there's a beautiful Phantom Knives. The Moonwell is still at 16 hit points as that one Druid of the Claw is going to end up taking a lot of damage. Oh, no Devour on that one Bear, as we now are still looking at the Moonwell regenerating mana. This is a very big deal as a huge Phantom Knives does go down. Damage going back and forth. It looks like one Crypt Fiend down to 19 hit points, going to stay alive. How is these Crypt Fiends still alive here as we're looking at a Phantom Knives not hitting any of the low hit point Crypt Fiends? There goes another Frost Nova. And if it really does just come down to no, absolutely no, there we go, finally taking down some of those units. If the Destroyer goes down, that could make a big difference. There is the Orb of Venom now as the Dryads are now trying to pull back. 33 over 50. There is a lot of very, very low hit point units here. If the Dark Ranger can just get enough damage, this could all change in a matter of seconds. The Dark Ranger needs to come in with a Phantom Knives, perhaps take down a couple more units. There you go, as the Abomination now down to 350 hit points. Oh, yes, it does get taken down as the Dark Ranger, or the Warden now gets to level 6. Oh, Spirit of Avatar of Vengeance all of a sudden could shift things around. That Avatar of Vengeance, very, very deadly, as we're going to see Spirit of Vengeances coming back over the top. The solo Warden, now a one-man, woman army able to fight back here, and you're looking at these Spirit of Vengeances just absolutely destroying this fight here. The Warden in a little bit of trouble, but we could have a rejuvenation on her, and now she is refreshed and ready to go. Another Abomination trying to get away, and it gets taken down with, I believe, a Dark Ritual to try and deny any more experience. The Warden still seeing that level 6 here. Does he get a Shadow Strike off? No. Does have a little bit of negative armor here. perhaps wants to finish off an obsidian statue or two, but is going to have a little bit of a difficult time. Warden does get in front, and if can start pathing that obsidian statue, can really make a really, really big difference in this fight. No, going to decide to back off, and that is why people go solo Warden. Once level 6 was reached, those Spirits of Vengeances and the Avatar of Vengeance, so difficult to stop. Even though the Warden cannot get any more experience, the item itself here, a level 7 Ogre Lord item, could prove to be very, very useful. What item is it going to be? It is going to be a Helm of Valor, strength and agility, very, very high, as we are now looking to come down here. All right, there goes an Ancient of War. Avatar of Vengeance does have a rejuvenation, Staff of Preservation, and all of a sudden the Warden caught getting creepjacked here is going to end up hurting her once again. The Death Knight, if it can get to level 5 alongside a level 4 or even level 5 Death Lich, things will switch back over as the nuking ability of these two heroes is very, very deadly. Anti-magic potion may be used by the Warden to try and negate that, but the real problem right now is that the Warden has no real way of getting mana. Ancient of Wonders is back over here. Drop a Circlet of... using a Clarity Potion, selling the Helm of Valor, knowing that the extra hit points and damage does not make up for the loss of mana, which is needed. Meanwhile, back over here on the top left, Death Knight gonna get to level 5 off of this Null Warden. There it goes, level 5 on the Null Warden. Lich not too far behind, and the Dark Ranger sitting at level 3. Only one creep camp left on the map, and that is all the way on the other side of the Undead army. The Warden is going to be in a serious bout of trouble here, as it does cost 150 mana to resummon that Avatar of Vengeance every time. Moonwell is going to be the key to this upcoming fight, as the Warden now, using a Potion of Invisibility, gonna try and cause more disruption here. There is about 2,000 gold left, which equates to about 2.5 or what, 4.5 minutes? 3.5 minutes of mining time. There was really no reason to go invis and wasting that 150 gold. All right, key Moonwells now all gone. There goes one bear. There is a Fan of Knives, Shadow Strike onto a Crypt Fiend. The Crypt Fiend taking a fair bit of damage. Oh, Constant Scroll of Healing. Death Coil saves it again, as we're still looking at the fight go through. Fan of Knives goes down again. Are we going to see an Avatar? I don't think so. Lich gets saved there, as we now see level, I believe, what is that? Level 4 on the Dark Ranger. Dryads are now falling, and I believe the Undead army is just going to be too difficult to stop. Oh wait, what is that? A Destroyer getting taken down. Okay, so still very even, but there's not enough units, and there is the GG. The Undead army was in fact too difficult to stop. Once the Death Knight got to level 5, no amount of focus fire was enough to handle the Scrolls of Healing, the Death Coils, and those Obsidian statues. Lucifer taking game number 1 in the series. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please stay tuned for game number 2.